Hey everyone, welcome back. So, you've got a massive family law exam creeping up, right? And you're probably stressing out over the nitty-gritty details of the Hindu Marriage Act. Well, don't worry, because today's explainer is basically your ultimate study guide. We are decoding matrimonial remedies, and we're specifically zeroing in on the absolute heavy hitter of the syllabus, Section 9, Restitution of Conjugal Rights. Let's dive right in and grab exactly what you need to know to ace those essay questions and lock in a top grade.
All right, let's just map this out. We've got 4 clear study signposts today. Number 1, the matrimonial remedies map. Number 2, Section 9 ingredients. 3, the constitutional case timeline. And finally, 4, defenses and enforcement rules.
Okay, hitting signpost 1, the matrimonial remedies map. Before we completely geek out on Section 9, we really need a cognitive anchor, right? Where does this fit into the bigger picture? Okay, so Section 9 is restitution of conjugal rights. Moving right down, Section 10 covers judicial separation. Then Section 11, that deals with void marriages. Literally, void ab initio, invalid from the absolute get-go. Section 12 handles voidable marriages, which leads to annulment. Section 13, that's your standard divorce provision. Then we hit Section 14 for petition timing. Basically, you generally can't file before the 1-year mark unless you can prove some exceptional hardship. And tapping it off is Section 15 on remarriage, which is only permitted after the 90-day appeal window closes. Fun fact, before 1976, that wait time was actually a whole year.
It is honestly so helpful to see the law visually structured like this. It's brilliant for retention, and having this whole statutory timeline neatly organized sets us up perfectly to shift gears. Now, we're going to zoom in on the absolute star of the show right there, Section 9.
Moving right along to signpost 2, Section 9 Ingredients Explained.
All right, time to memorize the core statutory ingredients for Section 9 claim. These are the exact buzzwords your examiners are hunting for. Number 1, one spouse must have withdrawn from the society of another. And number 2, this withdrawal had to be done without reasonable excuse. Boom. If you have those 2 elements, the basic grounds for restitution are totally met.
Now, here is the classic trap they love to spring on you in exams. Who actually bears the burden of proof? Let's say a husband files a petition under Section 9 because his wife left. Well, he doesn't have to prove she lacked a reason. No way! The burden of proof falls entirely on the party who actually withdrew from society. So in this example, it's 100% on the wife to legally prove she had a totally valid, reasonable excuse for leaving.
That brings us to signpost 3, the constitutional case timeline.
Let's trace this journey because it is a wild ride. This whole thing originally stems way back to an 1866 case, Munshi Bazlor versus Shamsu Nisa Begum. Fast forward about a century, and the remedy of restitution was actually abolished entirely in the UK in 1970. But India kept it, which sparked this massive, dramatic clash between high courts. Think about it. In 1983, the Andhra Pradesh High Court flat out strikes it down as unconstitutional in Saritha versus Venkata Subbiah. But then, literally just 1 year later, the Delhi High Court goes the complete opposite direction in the Harvinder Kaur case. Ultimately, the Supreme Court had to swoop in via the Saroj Rani case to settle the dust, definitively declaring Section 9 constitutionally valid.
Notice how perfectly this visual timeline captures that intense legal ping-pong. You've got the 1983 AP High Court decision sitting right there, just waiting to be overturned by the 1984 Delhi High Court and Supreme Court validations. If you can lay this timeline out in your exam essays, you're proving you don't just know the rule, you know its entire controversial evolution.
And we're at our final stop, signpost 4, defenses and enforcement rules.
These next couple of case laws brilliantly illustrate the stark contrast in what counts as a valid defense. Look at the 2003 Kamala Devi case. It makes it crystal clear. Cruelty by a husband and illicit affairs? Absolutely a good, valid defense to a restitution petition. But flip the script to the 1977 Mirchumal case. A wife working in a completely different place against her husband's wishes? Not a valid defense. The courts draw some very hard, distinct lines here.
You've also got to jot down this critical 1965 case, Vyuyuru Pathuru Raju versus Radha. This establishes a really fundamental rule. Basically, if a husband and wife make an agreement to live separately after marriage, that is simply not enforceable. You literally cannot contract your way out of cohabitation. Even with that prior agreement, the court can still order restitution.
Now we have to address the absolute elephant in the room when it comes to enforcement. How on earth do courts actually force a spouse to return without utterly violating their fundamental human rights?
Well, the Saroj Rani Supreme Court ruling in 1984 laid this out perfectly. Courts ensure compliance strictly through financial sanctions under the Civil Procedure Code, so no jail time, no physical detention whatsoever. Instead, they use mechanisms like Order 21, Rule 32 to attach property. The Supreme Court upheld Section 9 specifically because it acts more like a financial and procedural stepping stone toward divorce rather than some kind of physical coercion.
But I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative cliffhanger for your prep. You know the law is a living, breathing thing, right? Well, the Ujjwala Pathak versus Union of India petition, which was filed in 2019, is actively challenging this entire framework all over again. The Supreme Court last heard it on July 8, 2021. So when you consider its incredibly tumultuous history and these massive ongoing constitutional debates, is Section 9 about to become ancient history altogether? Definitely keep that question in the back of your mind as you study, and use this structured explainer to absolutely crush your exam.